Whoa! Guess what time it is? It's time to read another chapter of our book, the Garry Kitchen's Game Maker book. Chapter 4, we're going to talk about the Sprite Maker. If you've been following us, you know we've been going over each chapter of the book and making a video of it. That way you can learn how to program yourself. Today, we're going to have my AI assistant, AI Ben, is going to help us out. He's going to read our book and we're going to follow along and do examples. If you want to watch some of my other videos, I'll put a link up here, a little box here, and you can click on that and watch some of the old videos. Alright, AI Ben, let's read this here.
I am ready, Charles. Let's start with Chapter 4, Sprite Maker. Introduction. You can make colorful animated characters with the Sprite Maker program. You can also use any of the sprites already pre-created for you. The pre-designed sprites are listed in alphabetical order in the catalog when you load a sprite. The catalog of sprites is contained on side 2 of your Game Maker disk. A list can also be found at the back of the manual on page 101. When you're drawing a detailed character for your game, it's important that you get a zoom view of it, remarks Garry Kitchen. Sprite Maker lets you do that. It also lets you experiment with colors, sizes, and textures. Characters are an important part of any game, but they're also fun just to create and play with by themselves. To load the Sprite Maker program, 1. Make sure side 1 of the Game Maker disk is inserted, label up, into your disk drive. 2. Select the menu command. Or select Quit and then Menu. 3. Select Sprite Maker from the Game Maker main menu. When the program finishes loading into your computer, you will see the Sprite Maker screen. The Sprite Maker screen. The illustration shows you a picture of the Sprite Maker program screen. The Sprite Maker commands help you create sprites. The sprite drawing board is where you actually draw sprites. The sprite positioning area is where you position sprites when using more than one sprite working together to create a complete character. Loading a sprite. To see how the Sprite Maker works, let's call up the dog sprite you used in the Getting Started section. To do so, 1. Turn the Game Maker disk over and insert the disk, label down, in your disk drive. 2. Select the File command. 3. Select the Load command. Loading catalog appears in the message line. When the catalog has finished loading, move the joystick until you reach the dog sprite. Press the button. 4. Select Yes to confirm that you want to load the dog sprite. After the sprite loads, you will see it on your screen. You will notice that the sprite appears in both the sprite drawing board and the sprite positioning area. You design sprites on the sprite drawing board. The sprite positioning area shows what the whole sprite will look like when it appears in a program. Setting up a sprite. Before you can draw a sprite, you need to tell Game Maker a few things about what you want the sprite to look like. To do so, 1. Select the Setup command. A box containing additional choices appears. 2. Select the Color command. Here you choose whether you want the sprite to be a single color or multicolored. To select single or multicolored, press the button to make your choice. To select the opposite choice, press the button again. Note, single color sprites allow you to make the sprite more detailed. 3. Point to VMag. This lets you magnify your sprite vertically. Press the button to turn the vertical magnification on. Press it again to turn it off. 4. Point to HMag and select whether you want horizontal magnification on or off. Note, using VMag and HMag doesn't allow you as much detail and clarity when they're turned on, but they make your sprite appear larger. 5. Point to Sprites and press the button to select how many sprites you'd like working together as one. For example, look at the dog sprite. You'll notice that only half of the dog appears on the sprite drawing board. This is because the dog sprite consists of 2 sprites that work together as one. The back half of the dog is one sprite, and the front half is another sprite. When you include the dog sprite in your animation or game program, 2 sprite numbers will always be taken up by the dog sprite. See the section called Drawing More Than One Sprite on page 40 for more information. 6. Select Quit. A message appears in the message line that says position your sprites. Depending on the number of sprites you've decided to use, you'll see up to 4 boxes in the sprite positioning area, labeled 1 through 4. Press the button. Use the joystick to position sprite number 1 where you want it. Do the same for sprites 2 through 4, pressing the button each time you're ready to position a new sprite. For example, to make a dog, the sprites were positioned like this. Drawing a sprite. Now you're ready to start drawing a sprite. First, you have to choose the colors you want to use for the sprite. The only colors used for the dog sprite are brown and black. The background color used is light green. To change a sprite color, 1. Select the color 1, 2, 3, or B you want to change. The color is highlighted. 2. Move the joystick to cycle through the list of colors available. For a list of all available colors, see the chart on page 104. 3. When you reach the color you want, press the button again. You can use up to 3 colors per sprite and 1 background color. To draw a sprite, 1. Choose the color with which you want to draw. To do this, point to the color and press the button twice. 2. Move the pointer to the left to get into the sprite drawing board. The pointer will become a flashing dot of color. 3. To lay down the dot of color on the drawing board, press the button. Move the joystick. Another color dot will move with you. See how easy it is. To use another color in a sprite, 1. Move the cursor back to the command area. The pointer will reappear. 2. Select the next color you want to use. 3. Move the pointer back onto the drawing board. The flashing color dot will be the new color you've chosen. Anytime you want to erase a color dot, simply move the cursor onto the dot you want to erase and press the button. The dot will be picked up by the cursor. Drawing more than one sprite. Using more than one sprite together to make one larger sprite is like drawing separate pieces of a puzzle so that, when combined, they fit nicely together and look like one large object. If you set up a sprite so that more than one will be working together, you'll need to draw the other parts of the sprite. To do this, 1. Select the SPR=01 command in the Sprite Maker command area. Notice the 4 flashing corners that surround the back half of the dog. This is the first sprite used in creating the dog. 2. Move the joystick to select SPR=02. You will see the flashing corners surrounding the front part of the dog. 3. Look at the sprite positioning area. You will see the area of the sprite that you'll be working on. Notice how the 2 sprites were drawn so that each half of the dog fits together like pieces of a puzzle. The first sprite consists of the back part of the dog's body. The second sprite consists of the front half of the dog's body. You can use up to 4 sprites together as one. You specify this in the setup mode. See page 39. You could, for example, use 4 sprites to make a large dog. You'd simply divide the dog into 4 puzzle pieces and draw each separately. The first sprite could be the dog's tail and upper half of his back end. The second sprite could be the upper half of the front of his body and his head. Sprite number 3 could be the bottom half of his back end and his hind legs. And the 4th sprite could be the lower half of the front of his body and the front legs. Creating a sprite that will animate. Often, you'll want to create a sprite so that the character or object will move once you put it in your program. For example, you may want the dog to run or the duck to flap its wings. To do this, you create the sprite using different frames. This is much like what a film cartoonist does when creating a cartoon character. Each frame becomes a step in the way the sprite moves. If you've been following the instructions, you should have the dog sprite still on your screen. If not, load it into the Sprite Maker now. See page 97 for loading instructions. The dog sprite consists of 2 sprites fitted together like a puzzle to work as one. The dog animation sequence has 6 frames. The different frames work together to make the dog appear as if he is running. To see how the frames work, 1. Select the FR=01 command in the Sprite Maker command area. Look closely at the dog as it appears in the sprite positioning area. 2. Move the joystick forward so that the command changes to FR=02. Notice that, in the second frame, the dog changes a little. The dog's legs have started to stretch out. His front legs are up in the air, poised to take a forward leap. 3. Move the joystick forward to look at frame 3. The dog is fully stretched out in a running position now. Each frame of the dog animation sequence must be drawn separately. And, if the sprite consists of more than one sprite working together, each part of the sprite must be drawn separately for each frame of animation. Going through the sprite animation frame by frame will show you how the sprite will animate in slow motion. To see the sprite fully animated, 1. Select the CMD command. An additional set of options will appear in the command area. 2. Select the Anima command. In the message line you will see animate from 01 to 00. 3. Select the to 00 area of the command. Move the joystick forward until you reach 06, since the sprite has 6 frames. 4. Press the button. 5. Now select the speed at which you want the sprite to animate. You can select from 01 to 32. Experiment with the speeds to learn the effects of changing the animation value. 6. Look at the sprite positioning area. You can see the dog animating, moving from frame to frame at the speed you selected. To change speeds during an active animation sequence, pull back on the joystick to slow animation and push forward to speed it up. 7. To stop the animation, press the button again. A sprite animation sequence can have up to 31 frames. It takes a little practice, but once you get the hang of it, frames are really easy to create. In addition to creating your own sprites, you can call up any sprite that's already on your Game Maker disk and modify it. Sprite editing commands. There are various editing features available to make sprite animation easier. All of these commands are under the CMD command of Sprite Maker. With the dog sprite still on your screen, point to CMD. A selection of other commands appears. These are: Flip turns the sprite in the direction you move the joystick. Select the command. Then move your joystick. Flip can turn your sprite upside down or around. Anima, when you select this command, you can see how the frames work to animate the sprite. Press the button again to turn the animation off. Shift, this command moves the position of the graphics within the area of the current frame. Quit takes you back to the previous set of commands. Clear erases the drawing on the sprite drawing board. You must confirm that you want the sprite erased. Note, if you select this command it will erase all of the frames of the sprite, not just the one you're working on. Be careful! To erase just one frame, copy a blank frame over it. Copy copies the sprite on the drawing board in another frame. This is very useful in animating sprites. When you select this command, you must indicate the frame you want copied and where you want it copied. For example, you could draw one frame of a bird and then copy the same drawing in the second frame. By changing the second frame just a little, you can animate your sprite without having to redraw the sprite every frame. You must save a sprite before you quit to the Game Maker editor, or you'll lose your sprite forever. See saving and loading on page 96.
So what do you think? I hope you liked it. Why don't you go home and start making some sprites and everything? Until then, I will see you later. As soon as I figure out where this leak's coming from. I know it's in there somewhere. Hello? See you later, couch potato.